They say every family has secrets, but when those secrets belong to the Braxtons, the truth can set fire to everything. Toni's furious, Tamar's silent, and one shocking betrayal has the entire family hanging by a thread. What really happened behind closed doors? Let's find out. Family secrets have a way of slipping through the cracks, and for the Braxtons, it seems another storm is brewing. Word on the street is that tensions in the famous household have reached new heights, with Toni Braxton reportedly livid after one of the family's most private matters was brought to light. The finger of blame, it's allegedly pointing straight at her sister, Tamar. Between emotional interviews, cryptic social posts, and whispers of betrayal, fans are left asking the question, what could Tamar have possibly said to spark Toni's fury? The Braxton family has always lived in the public eye, their triumphs and troubles alike served up for millions to see. But this time, the drama feels different, more personal, more raw. What began as quiet speculation among fans and a few mysterious social media hints has erupted into a full-blown scandal that even Toni herself can't ignore. For over a decade, the Braxtons have been entertainment royalty, dominating charts, captivating reality TV audiences, and navigating the fine line between fame and family. Yet beneath the glimmer and sisterly laughter, old wounds and buried emotions have lingered, waiting for the wrong spark to ignite them now. Sources claim that Toni is enraged after discovering that a deeply personal family issue has been leaked in. She suspects Tamar may be behind it. It's a shocking twist, but longtime fans know that love and conflict often walk hand in hand in the Braxton family. Their bond runs deep, but so do their disagreements, fueled by love, rivalry, and years of complicated history. The question is, what truth was so sensitive that Toni feels completely betrayed? Is Tamar really at fault, or could something deeper be happening behind the scenes? In this breakdown, we're peeling back the layers from the roots of the Braxtons' turbulent sisterhood to Toni's explosive response and the emotional aftermath that has everyone talking. This isn't just another celebrity feud, it's a lesson in trust, fame, and what happens when family business becomes everyone's business. And just when it seems like the dust is settling, new reports suggest Toni has privately shared her side of the story with her inner circle. And what she said has people stunned. Toni Braxton has long been the picture of poise, grace, accomplished, and unshakably composed. But even the strongest woman has limits, and according to those close to her, this latest incident may have pushed her beyond them. It all began innocently enough with Tamar Braxton appearing on a podcast to talk about fame, family, and the struggles of keeping secrets in the spotlight. True to form, Tamar was candid, witty, and unfiltered. But midway through the conversation, one remark caught everyone's attention. She hinted at a painful family issue that nearly broke one of her sisters. She never named names, but fans didn't need to. Within hours, social media lit up. Clips of the interview spread like wildfire, with headlines screaming, "Did Tamar just expose Toni Braxton's secret?" And Toni's private struggles revealed by sister. What might have been brushed off as another publicity stunt quickly spiraled into something darker when Toni appeared to respond, not with words, but with silence and a series of cryptic posts that spoke volumes. And just like that, the world was watching again, not the Braxtons on stage, but the Braxtons at war. It took only 5 words for Toni Braxton to send the internet into overdrive. On Instagram, she posted a simple message: "Some things should stay sacred." No tags, no names, no further explanation. Within minutes, the post became a lightning rod. Comment sections exploded with speculation. Fans began tagging Tamar, demanding to know if the cryptic message was aimed at her. Others pleaded for peace, urging the sisters to talk it out. But Tamar's silence was deafening, and too many. That silence said more than any statement could. According to a source close to the family, Toni's reaction wasn't just emotional, it was deeply personal. She felt blindsided, betrayed by the sister she trusted most. The insider revealed that Tamar's podcast remarks weren't harmless gossip, they touched on something painfully private: Toni's ongoing health battles and a family disagreement about how to manage them. For years, Toni Braxton has been courageous and open about her struggle with lupus, a chronic autoimmune disease that has shaped much of her adult life. Fans have seen her face hospital stays, surgeries, and the emotional toll that comes with living in a fragile body while trying to maintain a superstar's schedule. Yet, behind that strength was something she never wanted public: a recent health scare that she thought she had successfully kept out of the spotlight. So when Tamar hinted at a situation that nearly broke one of her sisters, Toni immediately knew what she meant, and she was devastated. She had trusted Tamar to protect her privacy, not put it up for discussion. To Toni, that wasn't just careless, it was a breach of sisterhood. Fans felt the weight of it, too. This wasn't just celebrity drama anymore. It was heartbreak in real time. Toni's health has always been a sacred subject, something handled with care and dignity. Seeing it dissected online felt like reopening a wound that had only just healed. Behind the scenes, other Braxton sisters, Trina and Tawanda, reportedly tried to mediate before things escalated further. They encouraged both women to sit down, talk, and keep the cameras out of it. But by then, it was too late. The story had gone viral, and Toni's name was trending for reasons she never wanted. In the days that followed, Tamar subtly tried to defend herself on social media, insisting that people love to twist things for drama. But fans weren't buying it. Some accused her of deflecting blame. Others said she'd crossed a line no family member should ever cross. Sources claimed Toni stopped answering Tamar's calls altogether. To her, this wasn't about fame or gossip, it was about trust. She felt her pain had been used for entertainment, and for a woman who has fought to keep her private life sacred, that betrayal cut deep. But those close to the Braxtons say this wasn't just a sudden falling out. The tension between Toni and Tamar has been quietly building for years, through rivalry, resentment, and unresolved pain. The recent scandal was simply the moment the cracks finally gave way to understand Toni's anger and the fragile bond between these two sisters. You have to go back. Before the fame, before Unbreak My Heart, before the lights and awards, there were 6 sisters growing up in a modest Maryland home filled with gospel music, strict faith, and discipline. Their father was a preacher. Their mother, Evelyn, a pillar of strength and structure. Together, they instilled values of hard work, respect, and purpose. But in a house full of gifted daughters, competition naturally grew alongside love. Toni, the eldest, had a voice that seemed to stop time, smooth, soulful, and destined for greatness. From an early age, it was clear she was the one producers and record labels wanted. While her sisters sang backup, Toni took center stage. Tamar admired her older sister, but she also longed to be seen for who she was, not just as Toni's little sister. Her powerhouse voice and vivacious energy promised stardom of her own, but comparisons to Toni shadowed her every step. That mix of pride and frustration quietly simmered for years. When Toni's career exploded in the early 90s with timeless hits like Unbreak My Heart and Breathe Again, the world celebrated her. But behind the applause, the distance between her and her sisters widened. Fame brought new pressures, new people, and less time for family. Tamar, the youngest, often felt left behind, desperate to prove she wasn't living in anyone's shadow. Fans saw polished performances and family unity, but insiders saw something more complicated: moments of tears behind dressing room doors, clashes between Toni's calmness and Tamar's fiery confidence. That emotional push and pull only deepened when Braxton Family Values premiered in 2011. What began as a show about love and sisterhood quickly became a mirror reflecting their deepest fractures. Audiences adored the Braxtons' authenticity, but reality TV thrives on conflict, and conflict is what they got. Arguments once kept private were now public content. Decades of bottled emotions spilled out on camera. Among the show's most unforgettable moments was Toni's tearful confession. "I love my sisters," she said softly, "but sometimes I just want to be Toni." Not Toni Braxton, the star. Not the big sister. Just Toni. It was a rare moment of vulnerability from a woman, often seen as unshakable, and across from her, Tamar struggled to hold back tears. Fans saw guilt, sadness, and a longing to connect that words couldn't fix. Even after the cameras stopped rolling, the tension never truly faded. The sisters cycled between closeness and distance, mending fences only for new misunderstandings to tear them down again. Through it all came both triumph and tragedy, moments that could have united them, but sometimes only deepened the divide. When Toni faced bankruptcy and public scrutiny, Tamar was one of the first to defend her. Yet years later, when Tamar battled her own breakdowns and controversies, Toni reportedly withdrew, not out of malice, but self-preservation. She simply didn't know how to help without losing herself in the process. And now, that long, complicated history seems to have caught up with them. It's the kind of heartbreak only family can cause. Two women bound by love and blood, yet constantly divided by pride, silence, and old wounds that never healed. For Toni and Tamar Braxton, this latest public fallout didn't just appear overnight. It was the result of years of unspoken emotion, mismatched communication, and buried pain that finally found its way into the open. A close family friend summed it up best: Toni and Tamar love each other deeply. Love isn't the problem, it's how they show it. Tamar speaks her heart too freely. Toni keeps hers locked away too long. When things finally blow up, it's never about just one moment, it's about everything they've been holding in for years. And that's exactly what makes this story so raw. The cryptic Instagram posts, the silence between sisters, the speculation, all of it is just the surface of something much deeper. Beneath lies a history of loyalty, jealousy, regret, and two women struggling to protect their bond, while surviving fame's unforgiving spotlight. But just when fans thought they'd heard the worst, new reports began to emerge, and they painted a far more complex picture. Toni's anger, it seems, isn't just about betrayal, it's about something bigger: trust, money, and control. When news first broke that Toni Braxton was allegedly furious with Tamar, many assumed it was another harmless family disagreement. The Braxtons have always been open about their ups and downs, and fans were used to seeing passionate arguments play out before heartfelt reconciliations. But insiders quickly made it clear, this wasn't another typical sisterly spat. This time, the wound went much deeper, striking at the core of Toni's privacy and legacy. Throughout her career, Toni has been careful about what she shares. Despite living decades in the public eye, she's always chosen when and how to reveal her most personal struggles. Her lupus diagnosis, financial battles, and heartbreaks have all been shared on her terms. Every confession has been measured, dignified, and intentional. But during one of Tamar's famously candid sessions, meant to be lighthearted and unfiltered, a single offhand remark changed everything. In the middle of a casual conversation, Tamar reportedly referenced something about Toni's current situation, hinting at new financial or health issues Toni hadn't made public. It was a small comment, but its impact was enormous. Within minutes, fans were analyzing every word. Social media caught fire as people began connecting dots. Was Tamar talking about Toni's health, her rumored hospital visits earlier this year? Or was she referring to the quiet whispers that Toni had been selling off assets to cover medical costs? No one knew for sure, but speculations spread like wildfire. Headlines soon followed. Tamar Braxton spills Toni's secret on Instagram Live, and Toni furious after sister leaks private info. Gossip blogs ran with the story, fan accounts reposted clips, and by the end of the day, the Braxton family was trending for all the wrong reasons. Tamar, realizing the chaos she'd sparked, tried to clarify her words later, insisting she hadn't meant any harm, that she'd spoken out of love and concern. But the damage was already done. For Toni, it wasn't about the intent, it was about trust. Toni is extremely private, one insider explained. When she opens up to family, she expects it to stay there. For her, this wasn't just an accidental slip, it was a betrayal. And for Toni, the sting ran even deeper because of what she's overcome. After years of rebuilding her name following 2 bankruptcies, health crises, and public scrutiny, she's fought hard to reclaim her peace and reputation. Her journey from hardship to stability, emotionally, physically, and financially, has been long and painful. To have her sister, even unintentionally, expose something she hadn't yet shared with the world, felt like a wound that reopened every past insecurity. More than money, this was about control over her own story. Toni has survived public judgment, rumors, and speculation that once nearly destroyed her spirit. Every interview, every public statement, every carefully crafted social media post is part of how she takes ownership of her narrative. She decides what the world knows and when it knows it. So when Tamar's comments stripped that control away, Toni didn't just feel betrayed. She felt powerless. For a woman who's spent decades rebuilding herself from the ashes of fame's chaos, that loss of agency hit harder than anyone realized. And perhaps that's what makes this chapter in the Braxton family saga so painful. It's not about fame, or gossip, or who's right. It's about 2 sisters caught between love and resentment, both trying to be seen, both trying to be heard, and both unable to find the same language for forgiveness. When Tamar's offhand remark began trending, Toni Braxton felt her entire narrative slipping out of her hands. In a matter of hours, the story was no longer hers to control. It belonged to the internet, and that loss of control, for someone as measured and intentional as Toni, cut deeply. To make matters worse, fans reignited an old familiar debate, the endless comparison between the Braxton sisters. Some accused Tamar of being jealous, suggesting she was stirring the pot to reclaim attention. Others defended her, insisting she was just being her candid, passionate self, never one to sugarcoat emotions. But those who've known the Braxtons for years say this tension didn't come from nowhere. It's the result of a long, complicated history, one rooted in love, rivalry, and the struggle for control over how the family's story is told. Because the truth is, Braxton Family Values wasn't just a show, it was a business, a brand, and for a time, a shared dream. But behind the camera, disagreements about money, appearance fees, and creative decisions often caused friction. Toni, ever the perfectionist, preferred a polished image that reflected the family's strength and sophistication. Tamar, meanwhile, believed in authenticity, showing the messy, emotional truth, even when it wasn't pretty. That difference in philosophy created years of tension that quietly simmered beneath the surface. So when Tamar revealed personal details about Toni, even unintentionally, it wasn't just a careless mistake, it reopened old wounds about control, image, and trust. Insiders say Toni hasn't spoken publicly because she's retreated inward, focusing on her health and peace, surrounding herself only with a small, trusted circle. Meanwhile, Tamar has reportedly tried to reach out privately, but Toni remains distant, at least for now. What makes all of this so tragic is how close the sisters once were. They weren't just family, they were each other's anchor. Toni was there when Tamar's marriage fell apart, standing by her side during one of the most painful chapters of her life. And when Toni battled severe lupus, it was Tamar who sat at her hospital bedside, refusing to leave. But love, no matter how deep, doesn't erase betrayal, especially when it unfolds in front of millions of people. For many fans, this feels like the breaking point, the moment when the Braxton bond might truly shatter. Others, however, hold on to hope, believing this is just another storm in a lifelong relationship that's too strong to destroy. Still, one haunting question lingers. Did Tamar really mean to hurt Toni, or did her emotions simply outrun her judgment? Because if there's one thing everyone knows about Tamar Braxton, it's that she speaks her mind, even when it costs her. Her honesty has always been both her strength and her downfall. When the controversy first broke, Tamar did something few expected. She went completely silent. For a woman known for her fiery, unfiltered personality, that silence spoke volumes. No Instagram stories, no tweets, no subtle shade, nothing. For nearly a week, the usually outspoken star disappeared from social media altogether. Then, without warning, she returned live on Instagram, tearful and trembling, her voice soft and cracking under the weight of emotion. For 7 minutes, she spoke directly to the camera, her heart laid bare. "I never meant to hurt my sister," she said, wiping away tears. Tamar explained that her words had been taken out of context. She insisted she wasn't exposing Toni, but rather expressing the pain of watching someone she loves suffer in silence. "I love my sister," she continued. "Toni's been through so much that y'all don't even know about. I wasn't trying to tell her business, I was trying to tell mine. It hurts to see someone you love pretend they're okay when they're not. That's all I meant." The live stream spread instantly, viewed by hundreds of thousands within hours. The comments section became a battlefield, fans torn between compassion and frustration. One wrote, "You can't keep saying you didn't mean it when this keeps happening." Tamar, another, defended her. "She's being real. Sometimes the truth hurts, but it's still the truth." But even as the comments poured in, one thing became clear. This wasn't just about one interview or one post. It was about years of love and misunderstanding colliding in the harshest spotlight imaginable, and two sisters, both hurt, both stubborn, trying to protect themselves in the only ways they know how. Even after Tamar poured her heart out during that emotional livestream, Toni Braxton remained completely silent. No statement, no social media reaction, not even the faintest acknowledgement. And in a world where silence often speaks louder than words, Toni's quiet hit harder than any public comment could. Sources close to the family revealed that Toni had seen the video, but she wasn't ready to respond. "Toni is protective," one insider said. "When she feels betrayed, she doesn't lash out, she retreats. She shuts down until she feels safe again. It's a coping mechanism she's carried throughout her career, one that keeps her composed even when the world is watching her unravel." But while Tamar's apology seemed heartfelt, it wasn't enough to erase the sting of what had already happened. The truth is, this wasn't the first time Tamar's openness had caused tension. She's admitted in past interviews that her honesty sometimes lands like a punch, well-intentioned but too blunt to soften the blow. Her bold, outspoken nature has made her both adored by fans and misunderstood by family. Anyone who watched Braxton Family Values knows how often Tamar's fiery personality clashed with Toni's calm, polished demeanor. Toni preferred privacy, diplomacy, and control. Tamar thrived on authenticity, passion, and confrontation. That mix made great television, real, raw, and relatable. But behind the scenes, It often left emotional cracks that fame couldn't cover up, and this latest fallout, it only deepened those fractures. To understand why, you have to look at Tamar's journey. As the youngest of the Braxton sisters, she grew up surrounded by powerhouse voices, each one strong, ambitious, and determined to be heard. Tamar was the baby of the family, constantly fighting to prove herself in a world that already had its star. When Toni rose to international fame in the 1990s with songs like Unbreak My Heart and Breathe Again, Tamar was still trying to find her place. She admired her big sister deeply, but that admiration carried the weight of comparison. Fans saw Toni as the legend and Tamar as her echo. That dynamic shaped much of their adult lives. Tamar wanted to be more than Toni Braxton's little sister. She wanted her own light, her own story, her own respect. So when she speaks passionately about family struggles, it doesn't always come from a place of malice, comes from emotion, from love, from the raw human need to be seen and understood. But for Toni, whose peace depends on privacy, that kind of vulnerability in public feels like betrayal, no matter how well-meaning it is. During her Instagram live, Tamar, eyes red and voice trembling, shared a truth that struck deep. "Y'all don't understand," she said. "We're not just a TV family. We love each other for real. But sometimes love looks messy. Sometimes it looks like pain. And if I could take back what I said, I would in a heartbeat." It was an honest, unfiltered moment, one that showed remorse, but also exhaustion. It reminded people that behind the fame and headlines are two sisters who love each other, but who have never quite figured out how to express it without hurting one another. Yet the bigger question still lingers: can forgiveness truly exist when trust is broken in front of the entire world? Because in Hollywood, forgiveness isn't private, it's public. Every post, every follow, every silence becomes a story. Every move is dissected by millions of eyes waiting for the next sign of reconciliation, or the next spark of drama. For Toni and Tamar, this isn't just another family argument, it's a reflection of the painful reality that fame magnifies everything: the love, the hurt, the silence. And while time may eventually heal their wounds, for now, both sisters remain on opposite sides of that silence, each waiting for the other to speak first.